This one is pretty spicy. Jarrett Wilbraham joins the show. Yesterday we had Sem Kakembo. Both boys were scheduled to fight each other June 14th in Melbourne for Hex Fight Series 31. Now, still technically advertised. I think it's happening. I think not. There was a bit of a shuffle with Abdullah Biata not being medically cleared after he took a Muay Thai fight 3 weeks out. Unfortunately got knocked out. And he was removed from the title fight with Justin Van Heerden, which was scheduled. And there's been a bit of back end stuff. If you want to find out more, and from the horse's mouth, go hit up the Sem Kakembo interview on Australian MMA, where Sem basically says he was then sort of brought in to fight Justin Van Heerden, and Jarrett Wilbraham was supposed to have another opponent. That unfortunately didn't kind of work out. Hex kind of, it would be so difficult for a promotion, but Hex kind of juggling it. And they ultimately brought George Mangos, who's come in from a rival promotion, telling them, mate, they have a Grand Prix to find out their new featherweight champion. Ironically, belt held by Justin Van Heerden. There's a lot of moving parts. And they've advertised yesterday that George Mangos will take on Justin Van Heerden. And Sem is supposed to then go back to fight Jarrett Wilbraham. Now, the interview I had with Sem yesterday was before this George Mangos announcement. Apparently, Sem still thought he was in the running of that fight. Now back to fight Jarrett. And now there's a bit of confusion of if Jarrett and Sem will even fight each other. Jarrett's saying, as you'll find in this interview, that Sem apparently isn't going to take the fight. And Sem, if you listen to the interview before, I mean, there's a whole beef, whole backstory. They're from two rival gyms. They've dealt with two rival promotions. It's wild. It's getting spicy. But yes, if I can encourage anyone, it is to watch this Jarrett Wilbraham interview, watch the Sem Kakembo interview yesterday, and then coming out very soon, or might already be there when you check, Justin Van Heerden interview, who is now taking on George Mangos. Maybe. All I can say, geez, it'd be bloody hard running a promotion, and it is one of the most exciting times in Australian MMA, so no better place to subscribe and hang out. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the man that I think is scheduled to fight Sem Kakembo June 14th, it's Jarrett Wilbraham. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the show, one of my favourite fighters, Jarrett Wilbraham. Mate, welcome.
Thank you, mate.
You do not come in peace, do you?
Yeah, well, like, when there's back and forth going on and things have been said for a long time, I'm going to fight fire with fire. What do you expect?
What is going on? Now, I mean, we've had the Hex announcement with George Mangos taking on your teammate, Justin Van Heerden. Everyone is assuming that, I guess now we just go back to the original Sem Kakembo versus Jarrett Wilbraham, June 14th, Melbourne Pavilion. But is that in fact happening?
To be honest, I feel like that he's jumping up and down now, chucking a bit of a tantrum, and because he's not getting the fight with Justin, I don't think he wants to fight me now.
But in terms of like contracts, things signed, things that are in place, is that fight still happening?
He and I both signed a contract. Then I think he got sent one to fight Justin. What's that got to do with me? Our fight was scheduled, meant to go ahead up until like a couple of days ago. And now suddenly it's like, oh, opponent change. I can't make the fight. I don't know what's going on.
Is that, and you haven't heard anything from his team or from Hex that Sem won't be taking this fight?
Well, like, things obviously you've seen on your post got a little bit heated last night, and Simon, his coach, jumped on. He and I ended up having a phone call with each other, which I'm not going to go into because that's personal things get exchanged. But I kind of feel the sort of attitude that I don't know if Sem's going to take the fight.
As of right now, it's not locked in.
We signed a contract. I don't know if you can go and back out of a contract like that. Both of us signed it.
Yeah. I think, at least from my knowledge with Sem, he then signed another contract. So maybe that makes that original contract null and void because of the Justin contract. But, you know, I'm no lawyer.
No, look, yeah. All right. Well, that makes sense. Where it all started, obviously, was Abdullah got knocked out and then couldn't fight Justin. So they wanted to switch Sem in to fight Justin. Mm-hmm. And I was like, pissed off about it, but I was like, all right, get me another opponent then. So they sent me a contract to fight another guy who I won't name, but it was a much better record, much tougher fight. So I was willing to go ahead with that, but then that fight didn't come to fruition, which left me with nothing. Justin, as a good teammate, was like, well, I'm not going to take your opponent and leave you with nothing when you haven't fought for a year. So the deal was that they get me a fight, but they weren't going to get somebody to come and fight me on just short notice for no reason, but they could get someone to come in and fight Justin because it's for a title. So that's why we thought that's the one way that we both get a fight. So and then obviously Mangos has jumped across, which you can speak on that.
Yeah, look, I was going to ask, so George, you don't know if George Mangos was offered you at all?
I didn't get Mangos offered to me because, look, how I'm thinking it happened is Mangos was in that Grand Prix for Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that he would jump out of that is to come across to fight for a belt. That's what I'm guessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going to jump across to fight me when it's not for a title.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. It's kind of like nothing in it for him. And I can only imagine, like I said, I'm no lawyer and I know states work differently and all that sort of stuff, but I'm assuming the loophole in his situation, Mangos, was that when the Dimps fight fell out and then had to be rescheduled, the kind of contract, I guess technically, I mean, I could be wrong here, but I guess technically doesn't exist. So that created the loophole for Hex to sort of swoop in. I understand what you're saying too. Like, why would you leave? I think it was a massive $5,000 grand prize and a belt and everything. Why would you leave that to then just not fight you, but just like a regular fight when he could jump over for a title? Why do you think they didn't just do that from the beginning?
Who, with Mangos?
Yeah, like why do you think Hex just saw this opportunity at the end and went, oh, maybe we've jumped the gun, and then they just tried to put Sem and you guys back together?
Yeah, well, I said, like, why don't they just find Justin a different opponent and I fight Sam? Obviously, that's the fight that I want. Look, I think they seen that Mangos's fight fell through, so then they reached out to him, and it probably enticed him to jump across. I didn't want to go in that Eternal Grand Prix because of that same reason, that I knew that if something happened with a opponent pulling out, I would have to then wait to a later date to get a replacement. So that's one reason that I was a bit hesitant to go into that, which my teammate's in there anyways, so it wouldn't work that way. But now I'm dealing with the same problem over here on Hex because Sam's trying to pull out.
Now, you guys have been matched previously before, and then reading the comments, I mean, I knew the whispers of this before, but it was made public, obviously, yesterday. There was murmurs that you were going to be on Tough. Is that what got in the way of the last fight?
Yeah, so Sam and I were supposed to fight, but I was told that I was getting onto Tough. I was pretty adamant that I was getting in. It was getting super close and down to like the last couple of weeks, and I was waiting for follow-up interview to go through, and it was pushing that close to the fight that I was like, look, I'm not going to keep him waiting, and then he misses out on a fight completely altogether. So I let him go to fight Barber and that was out of the goodness of my heart. I could have kept him there waiting, and then when it didn't work out for me, then I could have jumped in and taken the fight. But I let that slide, you know what I mean? And then at the exact same time, I found out I had scans on my neck and they found a tumor in my neck. And then that just threw everything out for me. I wasn't even thinking about fighting anymore. I was more worried if I was going to bloody live or die at that point. I'm all good with the tumor. It's not cancerous or anything like that. But at the time, it was like, shit, you know what I mean? I couldn't fight at all, do anything.
Is that why? Is that the direct reason the Ultimate Fighter didn't work out?
No, I don't think I got in anyway. But it was like all happened right at the same time. That I was told like I was getting in. I was in for the final cut. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to go and fight Sam and give up on the fact that I was getting through to the final cut.
How come everyone just on that side note, how come everyone was so sure you were going to get into the Ultimate Fighter and then it ultimately didn't happen?
Oh, I'm not too sure, but yeah, like I was talking to the producer and stuff like that, and it just really sounded like I was through, waiting on my follow-up interview for the final cut, and then it just never came. I reached out, and then right at the last second, they came back to me and told me that they decided to go in a different direction. And then I think Kaan got into the Ultimate Fighter, which when you look at it, he deserved it over me. He did beat me in that fight. So I can't be salty about that.
I was going to ask you, is it frustrating to see a guy that, has now taken like 2 opportunities in a way from you, and you're not the best of friends with Kaan either?
Yeah, I think it was a big lesson for me, that fight. You know what I mean? Because I came out like fighting the wrong way. When Amina fought before me against Lisa, I was watching that fight, and I'm not saying that Amina won that fight, but I just knew that there were rounds that Amina definitely won that didn't go to her on the scorecards. That really got me like, shit, if I don't finish this guy, I'm not going to win this fight. And then other things in the background, situations at the weigh-in and stuff like that rubbed me up the wrong way. And I just went into it to just inflict damage and pain, and really pulled me out of my game plan. And that was a massive learning curve for me. And then when the whole thing with Kaan got in, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, this is exactly how it should be. I fucked up.
And not to dwell on it too much, but what situations at the weigh-in?
He didn't rock up to the weigh-in, and they said that they would video call me and show me him on the scales, but I never got to see him on the scales. They were showing me like a number on the scales with it going back and forth, up and down a lot. Like, it wasn't even settling. I'm like, is he holding on to something? And then I was like, show me him on the scales, show me him on the scales. And then, yep, he's made weight. And then everyone walks and splits and walks away. And then I'm saying, mate, I want to see him on the scales. And then they put me onto the commission that they're like, mate, he's already drinking water. And I just felt like, I'm like, he pushed it right to the last minute to make the weight. I should have stuck around, but I would have had to wait around another 4 hours at the bloody weigh-ins, you know what I mean? So it just, like, I talked to Simon last night on the phone, and he's like, look, I'm telling you, mate, he made weight. I don't think he's a dishonest person, but at the time, like, how do you think I was going to take it?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean,
And he was a monster on the night. He felt like he was like 77 kilos or something.
yeah, he is a nugget. When it comes to, I mean, there's always been a bit of a freestyle MMA versus absolute MMA sort of rivalry here, but where does the you and Sem Kakembo beef start from?
Like, Sem's been calling me out for a long, long time. And I was dealing with all injuries and stuff last year. After my last fight, I had to await surgery, and him just trying to get the fight then when I couldn't take the fight, he'd always be like, yeah, he doesn't want it. You know what I mean? He doesn't want this business and all this sort of shit. So like, he's basically calling me a coward. That's why I think it's funny that I call him a coward and everyone gets upset. I'm like, dude, he's been calling me a coward for like a year. It's a fight game. Like, people are going to say words, and you shouldn't be getting upset about it, you know? Like, he went and did an interview and completely embarrassed himself, so I reposted it, and then he just went silent. And I'm like, you talk all this crap, and then when it blows up in your face, you just go MIA offline, avoiding it, you know? And I think that got in his head a bit too.
You'd say this fight 100% needs to happen, yeah?
Yeah, like, I grew up with the morals that if you want to talk shit and call someone out, you got to stand there and back it up. Like that, where I come from, that's just the normal thing that you do. You don't go talk shit, build up this fight, and then bail last minute. There's an argument over the language, whether he dodged me or ditched me, but same thing in my eyes.
And so you would 100% welcome this fight back June 14th.
This is a fight I want. It's like, he's trying to say, oh, no, there's no beef, this and that. No, there is. I want to fight him. Like, I want to fight him.
So have you heard from Hex? Will you hear from Hex? And when will we know if this is locked in for good?
We'll never know until I turn up at the weigh-ins, and he probably won't be there either.
Right. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
Oh, it's just, honestly, I don't know what's going on. It's been a crazy week, and I just feel like I'm stuck in the middle of it. Like, it's complete politics, and I just don't understand why I should be the one that just has to sit out on the bench and miss out on a fight because he wants to leapfrog. Look, here's the thing that I want to say. I don't think that I deserve to fight for that title. Just like I don't believe that Sem deserves to fight for that title. His last win was 2 years ago against a guy that was 2-2. And that was probably his opponent's best record. Like before Barber, that was his last win. So I think that this fight between him and I proves that we have fought for the position to then fight for the belt. We deserve it. He doesn't want to do that. If he really backed himself and trusted in his abilities, he would fight me, run through me, and then fight for the belt. He's been promised the title anyway. So why is he trying to get out of this one? I don't want to fight for the belt. If they turn around and they said, we're going to make it you and Sem for the belt, I say, fuck that. I want to prove that I deserve to fight for the belt because I haven't fought for a year, and even my last opponent didn't have the best record, so I don't believe I deserve it.
Mate, I got to ask you, like you said, you spoke to Simon as well from Absolute MMA, head coach. He doesn't normally get involved, but every now and then he pops his head up. Your head coach, Joey Lopez, what does he say about this sort of stuff? Like, does he get involved at all?
Nah, Joe doesn't get involved in it. He's not like that. You know what I mean?
And I've got to ask you too, if your teammate Van Heerden wins the featherweight belt, and then over on Eternal MMA, if Seb Saleh takes out the Eternal featherweight belt, where does that leave you?
Look at what Tom Nolan did. Did he get a belt wrapped around his waist when he went to the UFC? No, he had an exciting style. That's what got him there. You know what I mean? Sem needs a belt because no one's tuning in to watch him fight. It's the same shit every single time. That's why he's got to talk. But then he started talking, didn't work well for him. Now nothing's working for him. Not his fighting, not his talking, not his personality. He's like a cardboard box.
Well, this fight 100% needs to happen. I'll let you go. I'm assuming there will be much more back and forth before we hit June 14th, but I really do hope this fight happens. And thanks for jumping on, dude.
Thanks, dude. But yeah, likely not. Like, he doesn't want it, so we'll see.
You're the best, mate. Take it easy.